HR do? Have you ever asked that question aloud or within yourself when you're frustrated? In this episode of Workplace Dynamics podcast, I want to think aloud with you on what are the various roles we expect HR to do. Are they cops who are supposed to police the policies? Are they champions of employees? Or are they supposed to be management stooges as some of us deem to see them? So let me start with when I was a business head. When I was a business head, I was the toughest guy to deal with when it came to HR folks because I always used to give them trouble. I thought I knew everything. And Esekaro was the easiest thing for me to say. So much so that when I got so frustrated, I went to my CEO and said, look, can you make me the head of HR? I think I'll do a better job. And he smiled and 3 months later transferred me to another country, another business role. Obviously, he knew that I didn't know HR at all. But then it begs the question as to what do we expect HR to do? In some of the organizations, in the context of where they are in, they expect them to be pure policy managers. That means who's coming in, who's going out based on policy, and everything revolves around it. And large organization, it makes sense. Now, you need somebody who holds the policies together, so there is a framework in which you work. However, sometimes we feel it's unjustified when some of us want exceptions, and that's when we feel HR is not listening to us. And listening is HR's job, right? So the second part of the role I see of HR doing is how do they champion employees? Are they sensitive to what people are telling them? And is that how they actually convey that to their bosses? Otherwise, we tend to see them as management stooges. Let's say you're a boss and you want HR to come and tell you what the employees think about certain things or how they're experiencing versus telling the boss what the boss wants to hear. And that's one way of alignment too. In some of the organizations, it's completely top-down. So we like to hear as bosses what we've already thought through. And HR just needs to align and go and implement what we've told them. So HR is always in the middle of all these things. They want to be HR champions. They possibly don't want to be called as management stooges, though they're pushed in that corner in some of the organizations. And of course, they need to withhold the integrity of policies they're set up in place. You ask any MBA management trainee who's coming out, who's specialized in HR, they'll say that they took the job because they like to deal with people. But when you deal with people, there are different kinds of people. There are employees whom they're supposed to champion, and there are bosses whom they're supposed to please. So they're always stuck. There's one HR head who's told me, look, I am the Rangoli. I'm the event manager in this place. I do everything, very laughingly. So you expect anything that goes wrong, HR to be handling that, right? So you will often see some of the HR folks in their boss's chamber, even if you're head of HR, almost daily. It almost looks like they're gossiping. They're telling something about what's happening in the company, whereas you expect them to wear a fiduciary hat sometimes. Once my CHRO, after about 6 months of an incident, called me and said, look, such a thing happened. I said, what happened? He said, look, your super boss and some of the folks from HQ were here. They spent some time in the HQ. I knew they had come, but I didn't know why. And they went back. They were digging a lot of information about you. They had some worries about your own style. And so they had come to do the inquiries and they ticked the boxes and went back. Then I said, why did you not tell me then? I would have confronted them. He said, precisely this reason. I know you'll react like this. So I thought it's a passing cloud and I let it pass. So why I'm sharing this episode is there is a need for HR folks to hold some of the information with them, not act on everything, not pass on every gossip, every opinion that comes their way. So it's a very delicate job, where you champion employees, you hold the integrity of the role with your bosses, and you also sometimes need to communicate to the employee what is good for them. Imagine an employee comes to you saying, I'm going, I got a better offer. Maybe it is in the interest of the employee telling them, look, you should move on, versus thinking I'm losing somebody, I'll hold out to them at any cost. So it's a very complex role. I'm only covering certain parts of it today, but I'm so glad that I don't don the hat of HR and I chose sales. Thank you very much for tuning into Workplace Dynamics podcast once again. Till I see you again, bye-bye.